Okay, so for the second week of the abstract painting, both of my canvases are completely dry. You can work on either 2 canvases or 3, it's up to your choice. We are building a series of painting, how to work on a series. So mostly the series consists of 10 to 20 paintings, but because this is a demo, I'm just doing 2 right now. My concept was based on the textures, the beautiful textures that I see around me, and my aim is to create similar textures that I see using various tools and techniques. So many of you have asked me why to use gesso instead of texture white. My personal experience says that the texture white creates a gluey kind of texture which I can easily scrape off. But the texture created using gesso, it's difficult to scrape off. Okay, for the next step, I want to emphasize on the textures that I have created on my canvas. Not all the textures, but I have picked certain parts like this one here, this texture, some textures around here. So what I'll do is I'll take turpentine and a rag, and I'll take off excess color or the top layer from the surface. I'm doing this only on the portion that I want to emphasize more. After doing this, I take the same rag and run it softly all over my canvas. This will help me remove the thin layer of dust or any other particle that sticks on the canvas during the drying period. So my surface is ready for the next layers. After a very light wipe of turpentine, I'll take some linseed oil. If you're using liquid gel, that is also good. And then we'll again, not a lot, but just a thin layer of linseed oil onto my canvas. So with this process, my canvas is wet again, and my brush strokes or palette knife will move very smoothly on a wet surface. So if you want to be a process-oriented artist and follow the right steps, you must do these kind of exercises before you begin the painting. So my canvas is completely dust-free. It's ready for the next layers, and I'll begin working. The next layers, what I am doing is I'm adding colors of various colors onto my canvas, just directly adding onto the surface, not really merging. But yes, I'm thinking about my composition, how I want to divide my surface, what colors are to be placed, where areas that I want to emphasize more. This is something that comes with experience. You can see I have variety of colors laid down on my canvas, from yellow, green, red, blue, some white, and similarly on this canvas. Both the canvases are of a series, so they have similar colors, similar things going around, but when we see composition wise, it is done a bit differently. So once I have applied the colors using palette knife, what I'll do is I take some linseed oil and a touch of turpentine. The idea of mixing touch turpentine with linseed oil is so that the painting doesn't take a lot of time to dry. If I do just linseed oil, it will take a lot of time. And what I do is I slowly, using a palette knife, start spreading the linseed oil. As I spread the linseed oil, I also work on the colors that I have laid before. I also spread those colors. Rag and slowly pull it up, so I have the excess oil onto my rag. And with this rag, which is filled with oil, I usually apply it onto the first layers of my other canvas. So this is an overall laydown of the color. If you like, at certain places where I feel the color needs a little merging or softness, I take my fan brush and do that. So this is looking good. Spread this one. This is the end of the step 2. You can see this particular area is coming forward due to the colors, and also there is a 3-dimensional surface because my gesso is a bit raised. Similarly, around this area, I'll emphasis on this particular texture more. Take off the excess, take a darker color onto my brush and will add just a few strokes of it. Okay, so this is the complete process of stage 2. So stage 1, I had done the texture, then I applied a thin layer of the or the base color that I want in my painting. Later I clean the layers again using turpentine and then linseed oil, and have added various colors, merged it using palette knife mostly with linseed oil and turpentine, and then some areas with a brush. What I'll do is before I leave it to dry, I will take pure turpentine. You can use a dropper or directly pour it onto the canvas. So this is the pure turpentine here. What I'll do is the areas that I want to emphasis on, I'll just drop it from a higher level. I'll just drop it at some areas, not everywhere. Similarly, I'll do it onto this canvas. So not only that I have created texture using gesso and different tools, I have also created texture using the painting skills, both using a palette knife and a brush, and then above that I have added these chemicals, these mediums to create more texture. So I'll leave it this. It takes around 7 to 8 days for this to dry enough so that I can work on the next layer.